Trump appears increasingly on edge as Iran tightens its iron grip over the Strait of Hormuz, raising fresh fears of a wider regional confrontation. Has Donald Trump quietly paused fresh strikes on Iran after a key Arab ally opened direct discussions with Tehran over the future of the Strait of Hormuz? Iran is now boldly flexing its so-called Hormuz atomic bomb, sending Donald Trump a clear message about who holds the strategic upper hand in the Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz remains the biggest flashpoint in the escalating confrontation between America and Iran, with tensions continuing to rise by the day. On July 26, the IRGC Navy claimed that 6 vessels were prevented from crossing the Strait of Hormuz during a fresh maritime operation. The IRGC further alleged that the halted vessels were issued a firm warning before being forced to remain anchored in the strategic waterway. This came as a senior Iranian official declared that the Strait of Hormuz remains firmly under the complete control of the IRGC Navy. An Iranian parliament member boldly claimed that the Strait of Hormuz would remain under Iran's control forever, regardless of outside pressure. Aliaddin Borajerdi also asserted that the Bab al-Mandab Strait would continue to remain under Yemeni control despite mounting regional tensions. Iran and America's Arab ally Oman held fresh discussions on July 25 over shipping security and maritime movement through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry revealed that the discussions with Oman were constructive, adding that both sides made measurable progress during the latest round of talks. The Iran Foreign Ministry said, and I quote, "The two sides exchanged views on common principles and operational mechanisms for managing the safe passage of shipping in the Strait of Hormuz while respecting the sovereign rights of the two coastal states. The talks were useful and progress was made, and technical and political consultations between the two sides will continue. At present, there has been no change in the status of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz." End quote. Iran and Oman reportedly focused their discussions on reopening the Strait of Hormuz for uninterrupted commercial shipping and regional trade. However, the negotiations remain inconclusive despite Omani officials traveling to Iran on July 25 for the high-level consultations. On the very same day, Donald Trump reportedly ordered a complete halt to any further strikes being carried out by U.S. forces. Earlier, on July 19, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi described the Strait of Hormuz as Tehran's own atomic bomb in a stark warning. Meanwhile, Iran and the United States have reportedly restarted secret negotiations to end the ongoing war. US and Iran reportedly sought a return to an interim ceasefire as indirect back-channel negotiations continued, AP reported. AP reported that mediators were discussing a compromise to restore commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. According to AP, the proposal would allow Iran to oversee vessel transit while imposing fewer restrictions on maritime traffic. A regional official, speaking anonymously, said the discussions remained highly sensitive and had not been publicly acknowledged. The interim proposal reportedly aimed to reduce military tensions while keeping one of the world's busiest shipping routes operational. The same official described the current pause in US and Iranian strikes as an encouraging sign for diplomatic efforts. The temporary halt in hostilities reportedly gave mediators greater room to push negotiations aimed at preventing further escalation. AP reported that discussions over Hormuz shipping compromise were still ongoing, with no final agreement reached so far. Negotiators reportedly continued working to revive the ceasefire while trying to prevent another round of direct military confrontation. Donald Trump reportedly held back from a major escalation against Iran as Pentagon concerns over missile stockpiles grew, the New York Times reported. According to the New York Times, dwindling Patriot interceptor inventories became a major factor shaping White House deliberations on further military action. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General, Dan Kane reportedly warned that another large-scale war with Iran could strain U.S. air defense capabilities across the region. Kane reportedly told officials that expanding operations against Iran could reduce Patriot missile coverage protecting U.S. forces under CENTCOM. The reported concerns over air defense readiness ultimately became a key factor in President Trump's decision-making on possible further escalation. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command said the American naval blockade against Iran remained fully enforced across the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM said U.S. forces redirected 12 commercial vessels that allegedly attempted to bypass the blockade on July 25. The U.S. military said 2 commercial ships were disabled after they ignored repeated warnings and failed to comply with blockade instructions. CENTCOM also said American forces boarded 2 commercial vessels to verify compliance with blockade enforcement measures in the Gulf. According to CENTCOM, a Comoros-flagged tanker was cleared after inspection, while another vessel was disabled for failing to comply. Statement by U.S. CENTCOM said, and I quote, "The U.S. naval blockade against Iran remains in full effect. As of July 25, CENTCOM has redirected 12 commercial vessels trying to run the blockade, disabled 2 that didn't comply, and boarded 2 to ensure total compliance." Earlier today, U.S. forces completed a verification boarding aboard Comoros-flagged MT Charmana in the Arabian Sea, and the tanker is now continuing its journey. CENTCOM forces disabled Mozambique-flagged MT Levine in the Gulf of Oman, July 24, after the crew attempted to violate the blockade multiple times and ignored repeated warnings. The ship is no longer transiting to Iran. Unquote.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.